Welcome back to another episode of Paranormal Bad Bitches. Just Brianna for today because I have COVID. So we are going to try to do this. It's probably just going to be a short episode because I'm already exhausted and I want to go back to bed. Now, we did go to the Farrar Elementary School and it was crazy. That will come out May 22nd at 6 p.m. on YouTube. And I really hope you guys check it out because I have never been more scared in my life. That ass. Never been more scared in my life. So today we are going over some Reddit stories. And I am not going to have Lydia to talk to about any of this, so I'm going to need some sort of response. So I'm probably going to talk to myself. But yeah, so the first one today, I have to keep all of my mirrors and reflections covered. I have constant paranormal activity. I have to keep all the mirrors and reflections covered, otherwise I see a very well-defined clear image of a woman. I think she's a witch. I feel cursed, alone and afraid most of the time. Why can't they leave us alone? They love when I get afraid. Activity instantly starts. They play with my crucifix necklace. I think love and joy defeats them. The only thing that reminds me of is like the Villisca Axe murder house when they covered all of the mirrors. Yeah, no, I definitely think I would definitely look into the mirrors. If they're all like brand new, I would consider getting rid of them and getting new ones. You could have bought like a cursed mirror. And with how reflections work, even off the smallest thing, it could have bounced from like the mirror to like the doorknob to the other mirror to that mirror to another thing to the other mirror. So like it can really ricochet with reflections. So I would look into just getting some new mirrors. And if that doesn't help, then I would cleanse the house, because that's scary shit. Alright, so the next story we have is what's happening in our house. So Reddit, I am coming to you because at this point I don't know if we are crazy or if something weird is happening in our new house. Bit of a backstory. Last July, we purchased the house next door to the house I grew up in. This house is 28 years old with only one owner. He's a single guy who lived alone his whole life, never had any visitors. It was odd. He decided to downsize with his old age, and that is how we ended up buying the house. Me personally, I've never felt a sense of being scared while I'm in the house. I'm a stay-at-home parent, so I'm pretty much here 24/7 with our two kids, 4 years old and 16-month-old. My husband, on the other hand, has been terrified. Anytime I've experienced anything out of the ordinary, my husband has been around. He's been experiencing weird things quite frequently, though. There's been times where a specific toy in our child's bedroom will go off when no one's in the room. For the toy to make noise, you have to push the buttons. The toy kept blapping while we were eating dinner, and my husband walked in there and said, "Do it again." Well, it did it again. I think that's just confirmation that there's something in that house. And there's probably a reason that guy had no visitors. Because, I don't know, I feel like anytime you ask for confirmation and it goes off, you can't really let that slide. Like, it's letting you know that something's there. So you either have to acknowledge it or do something to get rid of it. You know, there's no in-between for that, if that makes sense. The other night, my husband woke up because he heard a loud bang downstairs. I heard nothing. He came downstairs to look around and found nothing. While he was downstairs, he said he heard footsteps upstairs, so he came back up, and both of our kids were in bed asleep. He woke me up and asked if I heard the bang, and I got up and I said no. The next night, at the exact same time, 3:33 in the morning. That just reminds me of the Conjuring. He said he heard our daughter laughing and babbling in her room. We have French doors separating the dining room from our kids' room, and we keep them closed at night. We've had family spend the night, and they said it sounds like the doors were opening and closing. My husband fell asleep downstairs. Oh, fuck. I just woke up, so that's why I thought I could do this, but I'm already ready for bed. He said it sounds like that. Me, I've never experienced it. Now, here's where things kind of gave me the creeps. My son, who is 4 years old, keeps talking about someone named Tommy. We have no friends or family with that name. No one in his class with that name. He said Tommy comes to play with us. So, basically, what do you guys think? Is my husband losing it, or could it be something messing with him? Like I said, nothing happens to me while I'm alone, just when he's around. Edit. I forgot to add that the other night, after tucking our kids, we heard the usual kid noises while they fell asleep, but we also heard a very deep voice, which is odd because we both heard it and was like, what the fuck? We went upstairs to investigate and found nothing. So my thing is, like, if it's something messing with your husband, like, it's probably because he's easier to target than you are, which is why you're not experiencing anything. They typically like to make someone feel like they're going crazy. And, I mean, if it really is a little kid, I mean, he could just be missing his father, not necessarily his mother. Now, one thing I would like to add is, if it is a kid, but it could be something that's acting as a kid. It could very well mean something more malevolent and something darker. Which are, you know, they kind of already hit you when you're down, if that makes sense. So, like, if your husband's struggling mentally right now, like, check in with him, make sure he's doing okay, because he's probably feeling like he's losing his mind on top of everything else going on. And, you know, with the move, it might be really stressful for him. So I would check in with your husband, see how he's doing. If he's kind of struggling, then that's probably why he's being targeted. And if not, then maybe you guys have a kid named Tommy there, but I highly doubt it, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, I don't believe. I feel like every little kid that I've ever experienced in the paranormal has always been kind of like a disguise. So I would check into that. All right, next story. Haunted house? ? Hi, I've been living in this home for 2 to 3 years now, and it has been completely fine until recently. I have been hearing footsteps, knocks, slams, bangs, and strange electronic noises that I have never heard before. However, each day something stranger happens. For example, I thought I heard one of the door handles jiggling as I walked over to check it out. It had stopped, and it was practically hanging off the door loose. As I sat back down, I heard more footsteps, upstairs and downstairs. And then suddenly I heard a footstep go towards one of my air fresheners. It goes off every hour or so you can tap a button for it to go off, and it sprayed the air freshener. But then I heard another footstep, and it was one in the living room, and it went off literally a second after. They never go off at the same time. One is in the kitchen, and one is in my living room. I have also been noticing my phone battery dying very quickly when I'm out. It can hold battery perfectly fine. I also see a few shadows every now and again, and I hear very loud and clear knocks in sets of 3. I was just wondering what this could be and if it's anything evil. I did use the Ouija board last year, but I never started noticing / hearing things until recent. Bruh, don't use fucking Ouija boards. Period. Also, the first day things started to happen, one of my doors closed right in front of me. Okay, so to answer your question, the fact it's a knocks of 3, okay, demonic. The fact you used it as a Ouija board, demonic. You need to cleanse your house and reach out to a priest, because you definitely just got yourself haunted. Don't use Ouija boards, guys. I cannot say it enough. They are so dangerous, okay? And, like, even when I didn't believe, okay, like, you just can't use Ouija boards. You can't. Like, my biggest fear is Zozo. And, like, you can't use Ouija boards. You're gonna bring shit home with you. Alright. Next story. The more I thought about it, the more disturbing it became. Story from my mother when I was a baby. My mom was born and raised in the high country of east central Montana. Much of the area she grew up in looks like this, which is, it just shows like a picture of like grassland. She came from ranching people, and her father, my grandfather, was a genuine cowboy. She often did work around the ranch with him, so not much shakes her to her soul, except for what happened when she had run into town when I was only 8 months old. This happened in the middle of a sunny summer day. The ranch she was raised on was almost about 2 hours away from the nearest town. You had to drive north on a highway for 30 minutes, and then you had to drive on a dirt road for another 45 across the Montana high country to get to the ranch where she was raised. I'm emphasizing this because it not only shows how far into BFE nowhere she lived at the time, but plays into why the story becomes so disturbing. My mom had to run into town to get groceries and baby supplies for me. She was driving on the long and isolated dirt road back to the ranch when she reached into her purse on the passenger seat to get something. It slips out of her hand and into the passenger footwell. Fair enough. She then has to stop the car so she can safely retrieve what she dropped. She grabs it, and as soon as she sits back up, she looks into the rearview mirror and sees a man about 100 feet behind the car running at her. Fuck that. If you guys don't know by now, my biggest fear is like something running at me, which plays into for our investigation because my fight or flight kicked in and I dipped so fast. Nope. Like, Brenner will jokingly try to run at me on the stairs, and I just fall into, like, the fetal position. Like, I can't handle it. Like, I can't do it. It's bad. Fuck that. Oh my god. Needless to say, she puts the car back into gear and gets the hell out of there. As she's looking back at me in the car seat, making sure that I'm okay, she sees the guy give up running after her and ran back into the ditch to hide. Of course, when she gets home, she tells her mom / dad / my grandparents about what happened, and they are stunned. Here's where it gets disturbing, at least psychologically. My mom didn't see any cars or trucks parked along the dirt road for the entire way to the ranch. She also didn't see any people walking along the highway or the dirt road, which raises even more question. How did he get out there? Why was he out there? And even more disturbing, what would he have done to my mom or an 8-month-old me? The more I thought about it, the more disturbing it became. Her mom. I've only asked my mom about the story twice, and the second time she tells me to never ask her about it again, and I completely understand why. I get messed up thinking about it. I can only imagine how she felt having directly experiencing it. So that was from Creepy Encounters. It's not paranormal per se, but I thought it was pretty creepy, so I wanted to share that with you guys. I can't imagine. Like, I would shit my pants. I think I'm going insane. I was hiking the Appalachian Trail back in about 1980 something. I'm from Virginia. It was around lunchtime, and I walked through this rough-looking man dressed like it was from the 1890s to 1910s, playing a banjo softly. He offered it. I would like to go take a rest at his fire, so I sat next to him the rest. Without looking at me, the man says, "You don't belong here." I'm confused, and I say, "What?" They've been watching from the trees for a long time, so I look around and see nothing. He then says, "You must be careful where you wander." Then I got up and left. Fast forward to that night, I had my tent set up, and I had been I'm in my bivy sack hearing whispered noises. I thought I was just hearing things. I had a few drinks before bed. After a minute or so, I've had enough, and I got out of the sack, but not my tent, listening to the trees. I hear something walking closer to my campsite. Now I'm really fucking terrified, so I grab my knife. I had a shotgun, but it was outside leaning against a tree. I walk out my tent to try to find my gun. And as I do, I hear it. This horrible ear-piercing screech from outside in the distance. So I'm thinking I'm in danger. I grab my gun, sling it over my shoulder, and I climb a tree, sitting up in the branches with my gun in hand. I then see something in the trees. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's like a big, white, and scary as hell. I say, "Oh, whatever the fuck is out there, you back the fuck away and leave, or I will shoot you." I got no response. But then this happened. It fucking laughed. I was practically shitting myself, so I hop off the tree and grab my backpack and my bottle of Jack, and I ran the fuck out of there. I didn't know what else to do, but it's safe to say I'm not going back to these woods without a rifle by my side. Yeah, I don't know. That's a little trippy, if you ask me. I bet the guy you were talking to was a ghost. Just saying. I saw a face in my window for 2 years straight. This happened from 2019 to 2020. I was about 10 years old when this started to happen, so right after my birthday in 2019. One night I was casually doing my homework and I got up for a minute to grab a glass of water. By this time my mother started behaving differently. She was not her usual self. When I turned around to finish the rest of the homework I was assigned to do, I took a peek out the window, who was not far from the table, and I saw a face of a girl. Not a full face, but half of it. I can still remember the emptiness of her eyes, paleness of her face. She was so skinny, I was mortified when this happened. Anytime I would pass by a specific place, I would literally just ignore it, even though I could feel something staring at me out of the window, but it was strange. I mean, I never saw her in my house or on the property where my house was built on. Never. And what kind of ghost appears randomly, with no portal to enter? But anytime I would try to fall asleep, I would feel a presence in my room, specifically around 12 in the middle of the night, and I would usually get dreams whenever I would go back to bed. But one night specifically outshined the others. I was under my blanket watching something on my phone when out of the corner of my eye I saw a figure in the doorway in my room. It looked so human. It wasn't even see-through, like a usual ghost would be. I lifted my head to look at it. She looked like those movie girl ghosts, with the long black hair and a long robe. I saw it for a split second and I started running. It started running towards me. Oh, no. And then vanished. I couldn't move for a solid 15 to 20 minutes. I froze due to shock. After processing what happened, I told my teacher. She told me to get a priest. I told my mother, grandmother, and they didn't believe me. But one detail you should know, I didn't tell my aunt. Not one thing. The next day, my aunt took me to my cousin from school, and she told me that a girl came to her in her dreams and told me she meant no harm. She just wanted to protect me. After I told my aunt the whole story, she recommended the priest to me, but luckily we have a holiday before Easter here in Romania. So the priest came to bless the house, and I never saw the ghost again. One thing I realize now, and question, is myself every day, what was she protecting me from, and why did she vanish? Or did she finish her work? Could someone help me on this, please? The only thing I can think of is, like, that little girl that kept peeking in through your window was protecting you from the girl that ran at you. I can't imagine how scary that was, because I would... Peace, I'm out. No thanks. I want nothing to do with that. Oh, fuck, dude. Fuck COVID. Alright, well, I think that's all I can handle today. I'm gonna go take a nap. So, thanks for watching. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's story, even though I sound like shit, look like shit, and probably came off like shit, but I wanted you guys to have something. Another thing too that I want to explain is we are going to start doing every other week for our podcast and for our information videos. Fuck. So we're going to post the podcast 1 week, and then we're going to post our information videos on the other. So you'll have something at least once a week, but it's just not going to be twice a week. I feel like it's just a little too much. So make sure you guys come check out our YouTube. We just posted an investigation at Pole Position Raceway, and we also are going to be posting the... I'm struggling right now. The Farrar Elementary School investigation on May 22nd at 6 p.m. And if you thought the Edinburgh Manor was crazy, nope. This is... Okay. I'm gonna get out of here. Peace.